I heard about these 5 relationship tips for women. Number 1, it's important to find a man that loves you and is loyal. Number 2, it's important to find a man that's fun and makes you laugh. Number 3, it's important to find a man that's a hard worker and provides a good living. Number 4, it's important to find a man that's a great father and good with children. And number 5, it's important that none of these 4 men know each other. There's something funny. And I heard about this lady that died, and she was at the pearly gates, and St. Peter said, you can't come in yet. You have to correctly spell a word. She said, what word? He said, any word. So she spelled the word love, L-O-V-E. He said, welcome to heaven. Then Peter asked her if she would take his place for just a moment. He instructed her if anybody came up, just to follow the same procedure. A few minutes, she sees her ex-husband walking up. She can't believe it. Says, what are you doing here? He said, I just had a heart attack. Did I really make it to heaven? She said, not yet. You have to spell a word correctly. He said, what word? There was a long pause, and she said, Czechoslovakia. That was something funny. I heard about this group of school children. They were in the cafeteria line at their Catholic elementary school. And at the start of the line, there was a big bowl of apples. A nun had written a note. It said, take only one, God is watching. At the end of the line, there was a big bowl of chocolate chip cookies. One of the children had written a note. It said, take all you want, God is watching the apples. Start with something funny. I heard about this man that died and went to heaven. St. Peter escorted him down this long hallway filled with thousands of clocks on the wall. The hands on the clock were moving at different speeds. Peter explained that every person has a clock. When they sin, the clock ticks. One clock was barely moving. That was Billy Graham's clock. Another clock was creeping along, Mother Teresa's clock. The man said curiously, can I see my clock? Peter said, yeah, we keep yours in the office and use it as a fan. All right, y'all, say it like you mean it. I like to start with something funny, and I heard about this mother. She had 2 young boys that were known for their mischievous behavior. Anytime trouble occurred, they were certain to be a part. She decided to take them to see their pastor one at a time. Pastor said to the first young boy, son, where is God? He sat there silently. He asked again, where is God? Still no reply. Third time he asked, the boy bolted out the door, ran home, and said to his brother, God is missing, and they think we did it. One Sunday morning, this pastor was in the pulpit preaching away when he noticed a man on the front row sound asleep. That made him so aggravated. He started preaching louder and harder, but it seemed like the louder he got, the sounder the man slept. Finally, he stopped in the middle of his message, said to the man sitting next to him, would you please wake that man up? The man said, wake him up yourself. You put him to sleep. Come on, say it like you mean it. This is my I like to start with something funny, and I heard about this lady. She was stopped at an intersection. This man came up asking for money. She dug in her purse and found a dollar bill. And she said to the man, I'm going to give you this money, not because you deserve it, but because it makes me happy. The man looked at her and said, ma'am, why don't you give me $20 and thoroughly enjoy yourself? Be offended, but I heard about this blonde lady. She was driving down the freeway when she was pulled over by a female police officer who also happened to be blonde. The officer asked to see her driver's license. The lady dug and dug in her purse, getting more and more agitated, couldn't find it. Finally asked the officer what it looked like. The officer said, it's a little square that has your picture on it. The lady pulled out a mirror and saw herself and said, oh, handed it to the officer. The officer looked at the mirror and saw herself, handed it back and said, okay, you can go. I didn't realize you were a police officer. All right, I'm gonna need a ride home, but here we go. Funny, and I heard about these 2 men, Archie and Jack. They had debated their whole life as to whether Jesus was white or whether he was black. Archie was certain he was white. Jack was just as certain he was black. As fate would have it, they died on the same day, rushed to the pearly gates, said, St. Peter, please tell us. We've been arguing our whole life. Is Jesus white or is he black? About that time, Jesus stepped up and said, Buenos dias. Say it like you mean it. Funny, and I heard about this elderly minister. he was close to death, he sent word for 2 of his members, an IRS agent and a lawyer, to come to his house. Upon arrival, he motioned for them to sit on each side of the bed. The men were very moved that they could be with their pastor in his final moments. One point, the lawyer asked, "Sir, why did you choose both of us?" The minister mustered up some strength and said, "Jesus died between 2 sinners. That's the way I want to go." All right, it's just a joke.
Something
Here
funny.
we go. I heard about this college professor. He was going to prove to his students that there is no God. He said, "God, if you're real, then knock me off this platform and I'll give you 15 minutes to do it." With every minute that went by, he taunted God. "God, I'm still here. I'm still waiting." At the last minute, a 300-pound football player walking down the hall overheard him. He took off running, full speed toward him, put his shoulder down, and sent him flying off the platform. The professor woke up in a daze. "What in the world did you do that for?" The football player replied, "God said he was busy, so he sent me." I heard about this man. He got caught shoplifting at the grocery store. He was at court. The judge said, "Sir, I understand you stole a can of peaches. How many peaches were in that can?" He said, "5, Your Honor." He said, "All right, I'm going to give you 1 week in jail for each peach. You have 5 weeks. His wife stood up and said, "Your Honor, may I say something?" He said, "Yes, what is it?" She said, "He stole a can of peas too." Say it like you mean it. This is my Bible. I heard about this burglar that broke into a house one night. Just as he was stealing the stereo, he heard a voice saying, "Jesus is watching you." He froze in his tracks and shined his flashlight over in the corner and saw a parrot. He said, "Did you say that to me?" The parrot said, "Yes, I'm just trying to warn you." The burglar said, "Warn me? What are you talking about? Who are you?" The parrot said, "My name is Moses." The burglar kind of laughed and said, "What kind of crazy people would name a parrot Moses?" The parrot said, "The same kind of people that would name a 150-pound Rottweiler Jesus." All right, y'all, say it like you mean it. I heard about this man named Bubba. He lived way out in the country, and there was a stray dog that kept showing up at his house. His wife said, "Bubba, you have to put the dog in the truck, take him out to the woods and drop him off. That's where he lived." Bubba drove him a mile down the road, dropped him off. When he came home, the dog was walking up the driveway, practically beat him back. Happened again and again. His wife said, "Bubba, you have to take him way out. Drive him around in circles, get him mixed up." Bubba drove an hour away, crisscrossed country roads he had never driven before, dropped him off. 2 hours later, he called his wife from the truck, said, "Did the dog come back?" She said, "Yeah, he's walking up the driveway." He said, "Do me a favor, put him on the line. I need directions." Say it like you mean it. This is my Bible. I heard about these 2 brothers, ages 4 and 6. They were spending the night at their grandmother's house. She told them before they went to bed to make sure that they said their prayers. They went in the bedroom, got down on their knees. The youngest brother started praying at the top of his lungs. "God, I pray for a new bicycle. I pray for a new PlayStation. I pray for a new puppy." His brother stopped him and said, "Why are you screaming? God isn't deaf." He said, "I know that, but grandmother is." To say it like you mean it. I heard about this mom. She was cooking breakfast for her 2 young boys. Ryan was 5, Kevin was 3. They began to argue over who should get the first pancake. She saw this as an opportunity to teach them a lesson. She said, boys, if Jesus were here, he would say, "Let my brother have the first pancake." Ryan turned to his younger brother, said, "Okay, Kevin, you be Jesus." Say it like you mean it. I like to start with something funny, and I heard about this husband that died, and he left his wife $20,000. After the funeral, his wife told a friend that she was totally broke. The friend said, "What do you mean? I thought you said you had 20,000. She said, "I did, but I spent 5,000 on the funeral and 15,000 on the memorial stone." The friend said, "Wow, that must have been some kind of stone. How big was it?" She held up her finger and said, 3.5 carats. Say it like something funny. And I heard about this pastor and song leader that weren't getting along, and it started spilling over in the services. One Sunday, the pastor preached on the importance of being a giver. Afterward, the song leader got up and led the song, "Jesus Paid It All." The next week, the pastor talked about not gossiping, watching your tongue. The song leader got up and led, I love to tell the story. The pastor was so frustrated, finally resigned. Told the congregation, Jesus brought me here and Jesus has taken me away. The song leader then led, what a friend we have in Jesus.